What is going on, NFC South Roundtable, and welcome back into another live show. We got the suspects back at it again for another live stream because we have one of the biggest events in the NFL coming up in just over a week, and that is the 2025 NFL Draft. We are going to be breaking down everything involving the 2025 NFL Draft for the NFC South in today's live stream. We're going to be breaking down the top positional needs for each team in this division heading into the draft. And then, of course, we are going to be doing a 3-round mock draft with trades. It feels absolutely great to be back. Make sure you guys hit that like button, that subscribe button to join the NFC South Roundtable family, a show brought to you by Roundtable Sports. As always, I am your host, Colby Cochran. We got a full slate here for you guys, but before we get into it, how we doing, guys? Like, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've all come together and done a live show. So let's fill everybody in with how you're doing, how you feeling about the offseason so far. Clay, let's start with you.
The free agency was good. And I'm feeling pretty good about that. I think we filled some needs there, voids there, but this is where, teams really build their teams, right? In the draft, right? So I'm looking forward to it. I'm honestly just ready for the draft to just kind of get going, get started. And I'm almost to the point where I'm just like my anxiety and stress can like finally go away, right? But like I'm ready. I'm almost to the point where, to be honest with you, Colby, I'm ready for it to be over with, because if you're on Twitter and you're a Panthers fan, that shit's wild right now. Okay. I'm just telling you right now, if you say something wrong, you're going to get your head ripped off. It's like a pregnant woman. But yeah, I'm just ready for this. I'm almost to the point I'm just ready for it to be over with, and we can talk about more about it afterwards.
Yeah, Clay, I totally get it, right? Because this is just that time of year where nobody knows what exactly is going to happen. Everybody's kind of at a different point because everybody has different opinions, players they like, players they don't like. Everybody's kind of on a different page, and nobody likes to hear different opinions. So if you have a different take on a player that somebody loves, they're going to jump down your throat and tell you have the worst mock draft that they've ever seen. I mean, let me tell you, mock draft season is probably the most toxic season in the NFL community, man. So I get it. You're kind of at the point where you're so excited. Maybe you want to throw up a little bit. You're like, this is so exciting. I can't wait to see what my team does. But like, you're also a little bit nervous, and you also can't wait for it to be over. But I do think that we had Smitty pop out for a second. We'll get him when he comes back in. So TJ, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just excited. It's always a fun time of the year, the NFL draft season. I mean, despite if people criticizing your mock drafts or not, I mean, it's symbolic. No matter how bad your team was last season, you can do and make the right decisions, and it can turn your entire franchise around. I mean, we've seen teams in the past, like most recently the Detroit Lions. They've had some really good drafts over the years. The Green Bay Packers have had some really good drafts over the years. So this is a fun time, man, and all the hard work and dedication. I mean, we've seen this from, Senior Bowl, Combine, all these interviews, man. You got to be happy for these kids, man, when you get the opportunity to see them in action and seeing how hard they work, man. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, the draft is the way that you build your team in a sustainable way for the future, right? Everybody wants to talk about free agency and trades, and that's a fun time where you get to bring in some more established players. But for the most part, free agency is about retaining your own players. It's pretty rare where you see like a high-end caliber player actually hit free agency, especially at a position that is a true difference maker. So truly, where teams do rebuild and really start to transition into true contenders or pretenders does start through the draft. But Smitty, how have you been?
I've been hanging in there, man. Doing a lot of draft videos, just dropping, videos here and there. But this has been an intriguing offseason so far for the Falcons. Seems like they're going to depend on building through the draft, which I understand, but you got to make some moves at some point. So will they make a move on draft night? Yet to be seen, but I think that's going to be the smart move, if I'm being honest with y'all. But like he said, man, the draft is about building your team and, trying to sustain, build a foundation and structure. And a lot of teams are good at doing that. And let's see if we can turn the tables with the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons, and the Bucs.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I think that this is more of a down draft compared to what we've seen in recent years. I think that next year's draft is going to be significantly better, especially more than some of these more premier positions, offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback, to be a little bit more specific. And one of my hot takes before we start getting into the positional needs for each of these teams is that it would not surprise me if there are a lot of teams looking to get as much draft capital for next year as they possibly can in a year, and a draft class in 2026 that is supposed to be significantly better. But on the reverse side of that, we might see teams making more first-round picks than we have in recent years, because the cost to trade back into the first round is going to be lower than it has, just because the overall draft talent that is expected to go in this class and in this first round. So I think this is going to be an interesting draft. There's only a few blue chip players. I don't know about you guys, but I only have 4 blue chip players in this entire draft class at the top. That is Ashton Genty. See if you guys can get them. You guys know who the other ones are?
Travis
Carter, Hunter,
Abdul Carter,
and then Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Cam Ward. Those are my 4 blue chip players in this draft. So with that being said,
I say Mason Graham in there.
You guys put Mason Graham in there, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Oh yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that, they like Mason Graham, but who's his teammate on the interior? Name's escaping me.
Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant, yeah. So a lot of people are saying, well, Kenneth Grant was a big reason on why he got more favorable one-on-one matchups. So I do like Mason Graham. I don't know if I consider him a blue chip player, but I do agree with you guys that he is a dog. He's going to be a good pick. But let's go ahead and let's transition here into these teams. Clay, let's start with you. What are your top 3 positional needs for the Carolina Panthers heading into next Thursday?
Obviously for us, number 1, in my opinion, is definitely edge. I mean, you need to get pass rush on this team. I mean, we're bottom. We've been bottom in the league in pass rush the past 2 years, and that's a major issue. And it's not necessarily that what I'm looking for is. I'm not necessarily looking for a player that just is going to rack up sacks, right? I need someone who's going to disrupt the quarterback, come in there, and actually, cause the quarterback to make mistakes. And that's all we need. Like, I mean, you got to think about it last year with the current roster. You got Jadeveon Clowney. He's on the back end of his career, 31, 32 years old, 5.5 sacks in 14 games. DJ Wanham had 4 sacks in 8 games, but he could have probably had more if he wasn't dealing with a blood clot, I mean, let's be real. I mean, Pat Jones, had a career year. Great addition, I think. More of a rotational player. Had 7 sacks in 15 games. Might help. But you have to invest in a true game changer. So, I would say edge is number 1 for me. I would say number 2 for me is safety, honestly. And this one's a no-brainer now, unless they somehow trade or sign Julian Blackman. I think he's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So sign Julian Blackman or Marcus Williams. There has been rumors that they're still in that realm. They may do it before the draft. Not so sure about that. I mean, yes, you got Trayvon Moehrig, solid addition, but we're still thin at safety. So you need a ball hawk in the back end. And then, of course, wide receiver. Besides, Adam Thielen, who's been Mr. Reliable, I mean, you still need to address this position. Xavier Legette was dealing with some, drops last year. Jalen Coker showed a lot of potential. I think Legette also showed a lot of potential, but also some injuries could have been involved with that. David Moore, he's just one of those other names here. He's not someone that's going to scream game changer. So at some point, you do need to give Bryce Young that true number 1 wide receiver. And maybe they find a guy in the second round, or maybe they take a chance with somebody else that they feel like a sleeper. Maybe they go with them in the first round. But my top 3 positions of need is definitely edge rusher, safety, and wide receiver.
I would agree with that. I would even put like defensive back in general. And Clay, how would you feel about the potential? And let's say round 1, round 2, they ultimately go cornerback, and then maybe somewhere between round 2, round 3, they ultimately went safety. If they prioritized cornerback first, but then still picked up a safety later, is that something that you would be okay with? Or are you saying they must prioritize safety first?
I don't think they need. I would probably rather them prioritize safety first, because you already got J.C. Horn, who's coming off an elite season. Then you've got Mike Jackson, who really showed a lot last year. I think he did very well. I think, Charles Smith-Wade is a guy we picked in the 5th round last last draft. So, I mean, and he's got a lot of potential, but again, he still also has a lot of refining of technique to do. So, and that comes along with developmental guys most of the time out of the 5th round, right? It's very rare we see guys coming out of 5th round. They're just automatic studs, right? Besides Max Crosby. Okay. That's like 1 in 10 years. All right. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Like a guy, Jahad Barron out of Texas, I like. If they did go 1st round, maybe for a corner there, or Will Johnson out of Michigan, I'm not opposed to there either. But it would have to be one of those two if they wanted to get someone early. A big name for me for safety, though, if we trade back in the 1st round, maybe if we trade down to like low, let's say like the 26th pick, like the Rams. I mean, I could definitely see them, going after a Nick Amadawari out of South Carolina. So, so I'm not opposed to it, but I would probably, if I'm saying it in order, I probably would say edge first, then wide receiver, then safety, because there are some guys that I also like in the later rounds in the 3rd or 4th, like Jonas Sanker out of Virginia, or also, I'm also a big fan of Andrew Mukuba out of Texas.
Oh, absolute dog. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy had an elite season this past year with Texas, got better each and every single year, man. Oh, I think he's going to go sooner than people are expecting, because if he doesn't, teams are overthinking him. This guy is going to be an absolute dog. He's going to be one of the best defensive backs to go in this entire class. I'm a big, big fan of Andrew Mukuba. But Panthers fans, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. What are the top 3 positional needs for the Panthers heading into the draft? But Smitty, let's go on over to you. What are the top 3 positional needs for the Falcons heading into next Thursday?
Honestly, Clay, I think it's all defense. It seems like the offense played well last year. They adjusted as the season went on. They got better. So it seems like they've gotten in rhythm, and it's true. People got tape on Michael Penix, so second season may be a little tougher than those 3 games. But defense, man, we all know edge rusher, man. I saw a clip today that said the Falcons have the least sacks in the last 20 years. That's not good for nobody. So edge rusher, man, it's time. You talk about Vic Beasley, the last edge rusher that they took that even produced. He had a 16 sack season, the Super Bowl season, but other than that, I think 8 was his high. So edge, I think, is going to be key in this draft for the Falcons. And this is a draft, y'all say it ain't no lot of talent in the draft, but it's a perfect draft for depth and getting rotational pieces. And I think that's what's going to be key for the Falcons. Last year, they were 31st in sacks, and that's still bad because the year before they had 42. I think that was like 20 something. So it's time to go get that elite edge rush, and you have 3 that I think can come and help right away with James Pierce, Mike Green, and Michael Williams. But if I had to choose out of those 3, it would probably be Mike Green, because I think he's a little bit more aggressive, has the highest motor out of all 3 of those guys, even though James Pierce has the most experience. I would say cornerback as well. I look at a guy like Will Johnson, about 6'2", very aggressive, plays man zone and press, not scared to tackle, and he takes risks, and he's a game changer. And you need that on the other side of AJ Terrell, who got his first interception in 3 seasons, which is rough. So you got to have a plan at the other position, because you re-sign Mike Hughes, but he's a temporary. Clark Phillips and D offer a slot corner, so you need a solid number 2 that you can count on for years to come. I think Will Johnson, and just like Clay said, Jay Barron, he could be one of those guys. So I think cornerback is another position, and I go behind that with safety as well. If Malachi starts there, you have to think about it, because outside of Jesse Bates, who's on the last year of his deal, what are you going to do when he's gone? Do you have to plan for a future with a safety? Nick Amadawari, who's a guy that can do it all. He can play in the slot. He's a hybrid safety linebacker type player. He's one that you could look at. So I mean, they have the little to pick when it comes to defense, because I think that's what they need to build on the most, and finally get this defense going in the right direction. Get a guy that's a game changer that can help AJ Terrell, help with Jesse Bates, help this pass rush. Because if you go cornerback at number 12, that lets me know that you're focusing on helping the pass rush, because if those corners can help you out, it helps the pass rush get them more time to get to the quarterback. So I think that in itself is a smart move. But defensive end, safety, and corner to me would be our 3 biggest needs.
Smitty, do you think that there's any chance that we see the Falcons call an audible and they go maybe best player available? And it's on the offensive side of the football. We know this is an offensive-minded league, a pass-first league. You got to make sure you're building around Michael Penix, especially with that injury history. Is there any way we see them switch the tempo up and go with a Colston Loveland or a Tyler Warren at tight end?
I wouldn't say that, because that lets me know if you do that, Kyle, is you got a trade in place. But I throw you threw a curveball, I'm gonna throw a slide to make sure it hit the ground. I'm gonna go Kevin Banks out of Texas. You just talked about offensive line and protecting Michael Penix down the road. Kevin Banks is one of those guys I think you can plug in at right tackle, like a Nasu, like in Detroit, and have that position sold down for the next, I would say 10 years, and then say like 2 years down the road, you go out and get your left tackle, and then you start building in the trenches, because we all know the Falcons' strength on this team is the run game. So offensive tackle would not be a complete slider, but I still think it would be a wise pick if they did make that pick. A lot of fans would be mad about it, because if you go to my channel, I put out a video of them going to his workouts in Austin about 2 weeks ago, and Falcon fans lost their mind. But at the same time, I'm looking at the bigger picture as far as the future, as far as protecting that franchise quarterback. So if they took Kevin Banks at 15, I would not be surprised, nor would I be mad.
Now, Smitty, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Falcons do need help on the interior of that offensive line, right? So is there a chance that maybe they go with someone like a Gray Zabel, a guy who was the best offensive lineman at the Senior Bowl, has tackle, guard, and center versatility?
I can see that. But I think from what I've been reading and hearing, I think they're confident in Ryan Nuzell. Then you have Chris Lindstrom, the all-pro guard. If they want to throw a curveball, you can stick him at center, and you can still draft Kevin Banks, slide McGarrett to the inside. So it's just ways to go about it. But if they did take an interior lineman, I would not be surprised. But I think that would be more of a second-round pick and not a first.
Well, Falcons fans, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below about the top 3 positional needs for Atlanta heading into next Thursday. But TJ, finish us up here. What are the top 3 positional needs? I feel like you could really go any way here for the Saints heading into the draft.
Well, I think that the top 3 most important needs for the New Orleans Saints, it starts at the quarterback position. I'm pretty sure everybody heard about what happened with Derek Carr. More than likely he'll be missing the 2025 season. So quarterback would be my first choice. I think outside of Cam Ward, probably would be Shedeur Sanders. That would probably be the guy that I would have at number 9. If the New Orleans Saints have faith in Spencer Rattler, possibly going into the season as the starter, maybe getting a veteran, you can probably go with someone else, probably Jalen Walker out of Georgia. The Saints are changing up their defense from a 4-3 to a 3-4, so he will provide a pass rush as well as a sideline linebacker to be able to kick that off. I think Mason Graham would be a little bit of a stretch. I think that he's probably going to be picked early. I like his motor. I like the energy that he plays with. And we all know if you're playing a 3-4, you need that nose that's going to be able to demand that double team and be able to be a disruptor. So, but yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders would be that top guy. If you don't go with Shedeur Sanders and you decide that you want to pick a quarterback maybe in a second round, you can probably go with Jackson Dart. I feel like he'll probably be a second round pick. Or even, I'll throw a little bit of curveball out there. Jalen Miro out of Alabama. I mean, I think he'll probably be a work in progress, but a lot of people think that he has the most upside among all the quarterbacks if he can put it together. And we've seen guys who get picked in the second round, they looked at him as work in progress. Most recently, we've seen one win the Super Bowl in Jalen Hurts. So, I can see the New Orleans Saints going after him. But the most important need to me is the quarterback position. The Saints got to figure this thing out. I think that the Derek Carr experiment was a disaster. I just think that they just need to cut their losses and they just need to acknowledge the future. If it's Spencer Rattler, fine, but if you're not that confident in him, you need to try to find that guy. And some people, they got their critiques about Shedeur Sanders. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? But the Saints haven't picked a quarterback in the first round in over 50 years. So I think it's time to do that.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, too. I mean, easily the most physical, the most athletic, the most mobile quarterback into this class. I mean, some people having those conversations that we had with Lamar Jackson back in 2018 to where, okay, how much of a quarterback is he? Do you put him as a running back? And obviously Lamar ultimately ends up falling down the board more than people expected. It was almost a second round pick until the Ravens traded back into the first round with the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously we know how that history went. With Jalen Milroe, one of the biggest questions was his hand size and his inconsistencies as a passer. Had those inconsistencies at the Senior Bowl, but balled out at the Combine, balled out at the Pro Day, measured his hands, actually measured in larger than what was expected. So he's definitely trending upwards. And I do agree with you that he definitely has the most talent out of all the quarterbacks in this class if he can put all those things together. TJ, my question to you is, we saw Joe Milton, who was a very hot name, a hot commodity at the quarterback position from the New England Patriots, traded just the other week to the Dallas Cowboys. Were you someone who was in on Joe Milton, and did you want to see the Saints go after him?
Oh, yeah, I definitely wanted to see the Saints go after him. I just think that the Saints need a breath of fresh air at the quarterback position. I think that he would have generated some levels of excitement, and I also think they have the right coach to be able to bring it out of him. I mean, we know that Jalen Hurts is a guy who can make plays with his legs. He also has the ability to throw the ball down the field. I think that with Kellen Moore alongside Joe Milton, he can help him get a good balance of, knowing when to escape the pocket, trying to, make a play from the pocket, and I think it would have been a good pick. But, sometimes, when you look at this organization and this team, you just wonder what direction they're going to go in, what they actually looking for in a quarterback. I mean, I know they pulled up to a lot of pro days of Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. They brought him in for an interview. So I really don't know what the New Orleans Saints are going to do. But to answer your question, yeah, I was a really high on Joe Milton. I think that he's a talented guy, and I think the Cowboys may have themselves a future quarterback, man. If he sits there and there's going to be opportunity for him to play. Dak Prescott has missed his fair share of games over the years. So if he can go in there and generate some levels of excitement, we know that the Dallas Cowboys, that's kind of how they've been finding their franchise guys. Their starting guy goes down, and in comes that backup, and they get that job, and they don't let it go. So I'm rooting for them.
Well, Saints fans, let us know what you think in the comment section below. What are the top 3 needs for the Saints heading into the 2025 NFL Draft? But, fellas, now that we broke down each of your teams and where they do need help, I think the best way to kind of continue on our talk about this draft is to get into a 3-round mock draft, and that is exactly what we are going to do. So we already got this queued up. We're going to use PFF's mock draft simulator. Now, just a couple of ground rules for the viewers. I told this to the guys behind the scenes, is that we're going to do a 3-round mock. Each team can trade a maximum of 2 times. Now, they don't have to trade, but if they want to, they can trade a maximum of 2 times. But it has to be, if you're trading down, it has to be a team that is calling via what PFF is telling us to make this as realistic as possible. So, fellas, I say we just start this as long as nobody's looking to trade up here straight off the bat. Or at least, I guess, if Carolina is now looking to trade straight off the bat.
It depends on the board.
I'll wait to see who offers me a trade, to be honest with you.
You don't want it. You're not looking to trade up. Just saying, okay, well, we're going to keep it on slow too, just in case you're like, oh, okay, board is falling a little bit different. So let's just start it. See what happens.
Let's see.
All right, Travis Hunter goes 1. Interesting.
BFF.
Ward goes 2. Abdul Carter goes 3. All right. Patriots go Ashton Genty. What the hell?
Wow.
All right. Will Campbell goes 5. Ted goes 6.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? This is terrible. I mean, like, maybe not the most realistic. I mean, I don't know about Ashton Genty, but I mean, other than that, I don't think it's terrible.
This is my opportunity to mess with the Saints about the Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, this is exactly what Clay wanted to do, guys. Before we started, he was like, how can I screw up TJ?
I got 10 trades. Let me see who is offering here. So we got Chicago. I'm not dealing with Chicago. We dealt with whatever. We know how that went. I click down on the arrow.
Everybody want that spot.
Do you see it? Hold on. Here we go. Do you see it?
But just click down. It'll tell me which teams want to trade with me.
Hold on, let me make sure you guys can. Oh, shoot.
I can see it. I'm just like.
Let me scroll down a little. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it. Just click on the arrow where Chicago is.
Oh, right here?
No. Click on Chicago. Like the box.
Oh, this?
Yeah, in the box.
The arrow on the right.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Guys, what am I missing here?
It should be dropping down.
Is it dropping down?
No.
Nope.
The hell?
It's supposed to give me more than just Chicago and tell me who else wants to trade with me.
Click on the trade. It might do it that way too.
So you want to know the teams other than Chicago?
Yeah.
I don't. It's showing for me. I don't know why it's not showing on the other end. That's weird.
It's not showing for me. What? All right. So just tell me who the other teams are.
Okay. So the teams looking to trade are Chicago,
okay,
which is at 10, Miami at 13, the Seahawks at 18, the Texans at 25, the Rams at 26, the Commanders at 29, the Bills at 30, the Chiefs at 31, the Eagles at 32, and lastly, the Patriots at 38, which means you wouldn't have a first rounder.
All right, so I'll just go straight. Actually, no, I'll trade back. And who'd you say was at 13?
13 is Miami.
Okay, let's do their first round pick.
All right, so 13.
Yep, 8, and then we'll go 48.
All right.
And I probably could do more, but since we're only going to do 3 rounds, we'll just keep it there.
You sure you don't want to add on I guess it would be like 135? You could try that.
Well, nah, I mean, you can't. I mean, I bet you 116 would work.
You think 116?
Yeah, I bet you it would.
You want to offer it? Let's see.
Say 44%, that ain't going to work.
I bet you will.
Oh, shoot, and it worked. Whoa. Wow. All right, Clay, I see you. You've been putting in the work behind the scenes.
Hey, the Saints fans, if you need a GM, hit me up.
That's crazy. 44% chance, dude. I've had like 68% and they still decline me. That's crazy. But you know what? That is like the most Miami thing to do, right? So
yeah,
that's
obviously the loyalty, like I said today on Twitter, it must be just a PR word.
Yeah, it must be, right? But all right, let's see where Miami went. They wanted to trade up. Where did they want to go? They want Mason Graham. Okay, that's actually a good pick for them. I could see why they wanted to trade up. They need help all over that D-line. But all right, TJ, you're up here at 9. What are you thinking?
Man, looking at that board right there, and I'm just thinking from a Saints perspective. I'm gonna go Tyler Warren out of Penn State.
I can see that. I can see that.
I'm gonna go with Tyler Warren.
Oh boy, that's a New Orleans Saint pick all the way.
Yeah, definitely is. Like,
they say tight end quarterback best friend. So hey, we'll see.
Yeah, and also I feel with the news of Derek Carr being out, Spencer Rattler utilized the tight ends quite often. I mean, both Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson were the leading receivers on the team. Foster Moreau led the team in receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
And Juwan Johnson had led the tight ends in receiving yards. So I think a target like Tyler Warren would be able to help out Spencer Rattler if the Saints decide they want to go that route.
And the great thing about Tyler Warren is you got a guy 6'6", 257. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that 261 is not even I think he's lost some weight. I heard something like that, but
yeah,
you're talking about a guy,
No, I was saying also, I mean, he can also help in the running game. I mean, he's the best overall tight end in
throw
the draft.
Some wildcat. It's almost like you're getting a bigger Taysom Hill, but it's but more athleticism. It's like a mixture of Taysom Hill and George Kittle. Like that's what you're getting out of Tyler.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
You're also getting a guy who's gotten significantly better every single year.
And
I don't know about you guys, but something that I love in my prospects is a guy who's gotten better at the collegiate level each and every single year, because what you're telling me is that you're on an upward trajectory and that you are able to take the coaching that is given to you. You're able to look back during the offseason at the season prior and look where you went wrong, where was good, where you can improve. And I like how those guys transition to the NFL, and Tyler Warren got significantly better on a year-to-year basis at Penn State. Now, he really didn't hit the ground running until this past year, right? He was never in that first-round conversation until this past year. Colston Loveland was always the number one tight end, and then all of a sudden, Tyler Warren takes college football by storm, and now he officially jumps Colston Loveland. So, TJ, do you have any worry that what you saw this past season was a one-hit wonder, or do you feel that what you saw in 2024 is what Tyler Warren will be at the NFL level?
I think it's going to be what he is at the professional level. Look, man, I just think he just checks all the boxes, man. I mean, he has that mind frame that, and you can appreciate this, Kobe. I mean, I think he can be the next Rob Gronkowski. I'm serious. Like, he's that talented. So, yeah, I think that this guy can be a shot in the arm to the organization. I think the energy that he comes with will definitely coincide with the New Orleans Saints fan base. And I think he'll be an instant household name among fans. I think he's going, like, the Saints need somebody that's going to hit the ground running. Too many years they've missed on these first round picks. So you got to go with a sure thing. And I think he's close to a sure thing that you're going to get based on what I've seen available.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you say that too about Gronk because
he's the total package, man. Like, I'm a huge Tyler Warren fan. He's the total package. He can help open up the middle of the field for your quarterback. That's good for Spencer Rattler, right? If that's who they end up, running with next year, for the Saints, I think it's a great pick there.
Yeah, I like that pick. Do you like that pick, Smitty?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All right, A+ is for TJ all around on his first selection with the Saints. Right. Now, Clay, you're back up here at 13 after you traded down. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm at 13. Mike Green sitting there is interesting. I'm a huge Walter Nolan fan. I think he's very underrated. We do need to fill that void in the middle as well. And then Donovan Ezeruku, I think, is another guy that has shown a lot of production at Boston College. Very intelligent player, great football IQ that I like when I'm looking at him. This is very interesting because I could go multiple ways here. I do have the 43rd, the 57, and a 74. So I got 4 picks here, and I got to be kind of smart with the way I want to go with this. I think just the way that I just feel like this board is falling. And I'm just going to throw the off-field issues aside. I think I have to go Mike Green here. I need a pass rusher who's going to give me the production that I need. I like Mike Green. I think that besides the off the field issue, we're looking at a guy who's got an elite first step. When you watch his game film, you're talking about a guy who's got a bag full of, I like to call him I like to call it a toolbox. All right. So he's got a toolbox of pass rush tricks when you watch his game film. I mean, looking at the speed, the spin, he's got the swim moves. I mean, you name it. The only thing I need from him is to fix the off the field issues that he's got, work that out, right? Bulk up, work out, and then hit the ground running. That's it. That's all I need from you. And we'll be best friends.
We'll be best friends. What do you think about that pick, TJ?
I think Mike Green is very talented. I mean, 17 sacks. I don't care what school you play for. And I watched him up close and personal covering Coastal Carolina. So, I mean, I'm very familiar with the talent level that he possesses. So, I like him, man. I'm not really too concerned about the off the field issues. I mean, we all at one point, know about that college life, man. You know what I'm saying? So, all of us have been
grow up a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly. So I like him, man. I think that he's talented. I think that he comes with a level of energy and he has a level of confidence that you need. I don't think that it's going to be one of those issues where he's going to have to worry about the speed of the game. I think he's going to come in and provide an immediate impact to any team that drafts him.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
What do you think about that pick, Smitty?
Oh, I love it because I was going to take Mike Green. I think he did that slightly. But, yeah, man, he talked about a guy who's pursuit and his speed and the angles he take, they're elite. If you want me to be honest, he could be as good as Von Miller if he put his traits at the next level, where he needs to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Carolina needs a pass rusher, so yeah, this is a great, excellent pick.
Yeah, I definitely think he's also a better pass rusher than he is at stopping the run, but not to say he can't stop the run. I just think he's a little bit more raw. He hasn't had a whole lot of experience in college, so he's still piecing things together. But when he's been able to get on the field, the more they've put him on the field also, he's played at a very, very high level. He's someone that early on in the process this offseason that I was like, okay, he's more of a speed rusher. And there's defenders who are either power rushers or speed rushers. The best guys in the league, though, can turn that speed into power. And that was one of my biggest questions about Mike Green. And then seeing him at the Senior Bowl, days went on, multiple reps where he was able to turn that speed into power. I believe it was day 2 where he put Josh Connolly, a projected first-round tackle, in the absolute blender. One-on-one matchups, just off the line with speed, pushes him down. Josh Connolly never had a chance. I mean, Mike Green, an absolute dog. So I love that selection.
Yeah, I think with him too, the one thing I do love about him is he's a situational pass rusher and he's NFL ready right now. Like, you look at him, you watch his game film, and honestly, if you want to watch any of his game film, watch his Ohio State game. I mean, he's going up against a NFL caliber offensive line in Ohio State, in my opinion, and he was getting at Will Howard consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on here. Oh, Smitty, you got the Falcons at 15, but Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College goes at 14. I am very, very high on him. I don't want to say that's where you were going, but was that someone maybe you were considering?
That's exactly where I was going.
Yep. Oh, you got stabbed in the back twice in a row, Smitty.
I got screwed on this one, but you know, like I said, I'm gonna stick to my guns, man, and I'm gonna go corner with this one. If Jahdae Barron is still on the board, has he been picked?
I don't think.
Oh,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, both guys got picked. Wow, Will Johnson and Barron both got picked. Wow. That's crazy. I don't see that happening in real life, but all right.
No, I don't either. Well, I guess I go back to the edge rusher. I go James Pierce, out of Tennessee, at the top. Yeah. Nice. When you talk about experience, I think out of the experienced pass rusher, he's at top. He's played in the SEC. Like y'all talked about, plays with a lot of power, great against the run. He can disappear at times, but I think, you know, with the right defensive line, the right interior lineman, I think he takes his game to the next level in the NFL. But yeah, James Pierce, that's the only one Michael Williams, don't get me wrong. I love Michael Williams, but his pass rush win rate was 11%. That's bad. And he's an elite run stopper. But when you get to the NFL and you have to play multiple positions as far as outside linebacker and some says defensive end in the 4-3, I think James Pierce can do that. Yep. And one thing about Michael Williams, he's only 20 years old, so he's kind of raw. He has still has a lot to learn, and James Pierce brings that experience. So that's why I would take James Pierce at 15.
What do you think about that pick, TJ?
I think it's a good pick, man. I think James Pierce is one of those guys, like you alluded to, Clay, you know, got in some trouble when he was in college, and a lot of people are looking at his personality, you know, but if a team, you know, are kind of hesitant about him and he falls to like one of these Super Bowl teams, I just think that, you know, he can put them over the top. So I think that this is a good spot for him. No, if he can surround himself with some positive people. I mean, he ran the fastest 40 among defensive linemen. He ran like a 4.3. That's insane for somebody to run that fast and be that big.
8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I actually watched it in person. Like, you know, say like him like running down there, running that 4.3, and everybody was just talking about him. But, you know, I just think that he's a good pick, man. I think that this could be a guy that can be that double-digit sack guy. And you talked about it, Smitty. It's time for the Falcons to find that guy that can give them a consistent pass rush. At one time or another, everyone in the South has experienced that on a consistent basis. So I just think that it's time for the Falcons to do that. And if James Pierce can put it all together and the Falcons can put a good infrastructure around him, I think that he'll be fine. You know, my biggest concern is who is going to be that guy in that locker room that's going to be able to keep him on a straight and narrow. I mean, Grady Jarrett would have been that guy in my opinion, but he's no longer there. So one of those veterans like a Jesse Bates or you know, or one of those other guys who have emerged like a AJ Terrell, they got to wrap their arms around this kid and keep him focused.
Yeah, and then now too, I think a guy like this with his skill set perfectly fits Pittsburgh, perfectly fits Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So if the Falcons don't take him here, if he's on the board, I feel like one of those teams are going to trade up to go get him.
Yeah.
What do you think about that pick, Clay?
I like James Pierce Jr. I kind of fell off of him a little bit just because I mean, athletic freak, obviously running a 4.3, right? But like for me, when I saw his measurables and I saw that his arm length was below average, it kind of like pushed me away a little bit, because that is a huge issue with when it comes to these guys in this position. But you can't deny the athleticism, right? And so I mean, you're talking about a motor that doesn't stop for him. I think he's a pass rush specialist. I think he's a 3-down edge. I think he's got a lot of upside. I just want to see as if the arm length is going to end up becoming a problem down the road. That's the only thing that is questionable for me, because that is a huge issue when it comes to edge rushers. They use their arms and hands so much. I need to see him. I think James Sears Jr. is got all the potential in the world. And so besides all that, I like the pick here. I think that it's a good pick for Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, and with short arms, you have to have explosive hands. If he can keep his hands explosive, I think he'll be fine. And he actually reminds me of another former Falcon, even though his arm wasn't short. He has that same type presence as John Abraham on the field.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah, I definitely like the pick because, I mean, from a physical standpoint, from an edge rushing standpoint, like this guy on the field has never had problems. He's always been a dog. He's played at a high level, especially over the last 2 years. Fell off a little bit this past season, but still played at an elite level. My concerns for James Pierce, and the reason that I think he's going to fall down boards more than people think, is because of those off the field issues. He's got some major, I'm not going to get into it, but look it up if you guys are interested. He's got some major off the field issues, to the point where this came out during the combine that apparently multiple teams don't just have him off their board in the first round, but teams have him off their board, period, because of just how much of a concern those off the field issues are. But we also know that there are some teams who say, hey, we have the culture, we have the staff in building to be able to work with guys who have some of these culture issues, and we're willing to take a chance on them because, like you mentioned, Smitty, we're in our Super Bowl window. So definitely a good pickup from a physicality standpoint, from an on the field standpoint, from an off this field standpoint. That's where, if you don't make sure you have him under wraps, you watch him closely, he could potentially fall off a little bit. But nonetheless, looking at how this board went, beautiful pick at arguably your top need.
They said the same thing about Jalen Carter. I mean, Jalen Carter had off the field issues, but you look at him. But the one thing that Philly had at their benefit is they got a lot of guys on that team that played with him, the Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis. So, I mean, he knew those guys. So, and look at him now. Like, since Aaron Donald was retired, he's the best interior lineman in football, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, and it could be a stretch too, because we know Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, he's big on, off the field, because we seen how long it took him to draft another quarterback like a Michael Penix. You talk about Michael Turner getting in trouble off the field. So one thing about Arthur Blank, he's gonna do his research. And if James Pierce does come to Atlanta, that means Arthur Blank has given the okay to go take him.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, guys, up next here at 19, we got the Buccaneers. Now, obviously, James isn't here, so I'm going to fill in for him. I'm going to put on my Buccaneers hat, even though, part of me hates the Buccaneers because he took Tom Brady and Gronk away from me. I'm still not over it. I'm never going to be over it, okay?
Well, if you want to screw him over here.
He's a Patriot, okay? He's not a Buccaneer. I don't care what anybody says. But
I'm looking at the perfect pick right now.
I think we're on the same wavelength, and I want to make sure James is happy. Now, I would have went edge rusher here, but the board's fallen off a little bit, and there's one guy from a defensive standpoint, which, by the way, I think that's where the Buccaneers have to go. They put a lot of money towards the offense and free agency and paying those guys. That defense is a major struggle. It's why they fell off. It's why they fell off when it mattered most. It's why they didn't make a postseason run this past year. It's why 2 years ago in the postseason, they ultimately ended up falling off. They don't have the money to give that contracts out to these bigger guys in free agency or to make trades. If they're going to build up that defense, it has to be through the draft. Honestly, I think 75% of their draft should be defense. And I'm looking at somebody like Jalen Walker, who just makes a ton of sense for this defense, can be a stand-up linebacker, can shoot the gaps, is mostly going to be an edge guy. He's compared to like a Devin White, a Kyle Van Noy. He makes nothing but sense for the needs of the Buccaneers, but also makes nothing but sense from a schematic standpoint for the Buccaneers. So before I make the pick real quick, Smitty, how do you feel about that?
Hey, I love it. That's exactly where I was going, man. You lost Tryon Shrinker last year. You look at Levante Davis getting up in age. He's going to fill two needs with one, because he can play inside, he can play outside, he can play edge, he can drop back in coverage. He's a complete linebacker, and that's just like the Atlanta Falcons. It's a position that they need. So, it was an excellent pick. That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, underrated in coverage too. But TJ, what do you think about the pick?
I don't have an issue with it, but I mean, I would have picked up Malachi Starks. You know, I knew they got Antoine Winfield Jr., but you know, and Jordan Whitehead, but I don't know if Jordan Whitehead is the epitome of consistency with that. But if you add, you know, Winfield and Malachi Starks there, Malachi Starks is that athlete, you know, that you can use in a multifaceted way. So, yeah,
Right.
I would go with that. But I don't have an issue with Jalen Walker. He kind of fits the Tampa Bay Buccaneers type defense. We know Todd Bowles will always have a plan for a guy they select and, you know, get the best out of a guy with Jalen Walker's talent. So I don't have an issue with it.
What do you think about it, Clay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, Jalen Walker's getting a lot of hype, obviously, through us, and honestly, I could see him coming to Carolina. But that's the part of mock drafts, man. But I think for I mean, I like Jalen Walker, so don't get me wrong. I do see TJ's point too, though. But for Jalen Walker, I'll say this: I compare him off the edge like a Hassan Reddick, and then in the linebacker room, I compare him to a Frankie Louvu. He's just one of those guys that sideline threat, but great off the edge. I mean, the athleticism is just unmatched. I think he's a better Michael Williams off the edge than even Michael Williams is. I mean, which is crazy to say. Everybody says that his coverage skills is underrated. I honestly think it needs refining. When I've watched his tape, I feel like his coverage skills, there's times, yes, that he looks good. It's 50-50 for me when it comes to his coverage instincts, but I think he's got a high football IQ. It's just in coverage, I do think he needs some refinement, but I see JJ's side with Malachi Starks too.
And one thing about what I like about Jalen Walker is I feel like with today's NFL and all these mobile quarterbacks, he's the perfect guy to spy quarterbacks. So, like you said, sideline to sideline, he can move all over the field. So he is the type of guy that you're going to have on the field as a leader when it comes to playing these mobile quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, because he can outsmart some of these guys. But, you know, we'll see how it turns out.
I honestly think Carolina's probably going to take him if they don't trade back. So
you think they're going to take Walker?
Yeah.
Interesting. I know a lot of teams are being linked back to him right now in the first round. That's why I see people like mocking him in like the late second, early third. I'm like, he's not going to be on the board. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah, I actually had Jahad Campbell going to the Bucs, same type athlete.
Yeah, and I don't see why why Jahad Campbell's not getting the same height. I honestly thought that Jahad Campbell, when I watched this tape, I thought that he actually showed more explosiveness than Jalen Walker. That's just my opinion. And he's the same exact player. Everybody says that they're not. They are.
They are.
Yeah, I also think that Jalen Walker, like, he's mainly going to play on the edge in the NFL. So, like, when it comes to his coverage ability, I don't think if he's going to play full-time linebacker, like, yeah, that's probably not a guy that necessarily you love in coverage, but he can cover running backs out of the backfield. He can cover tight end. And if you need him to drop back into coverage when he is playing edge rusher, he can 100% do that at a high enough level for, you know, putting an edge rusher, you know, into coverage. So we're going to go with Jalen Walker here. And
with the Falcons, man, had they taken him, I think we're hiring Jeff Ulbrich. That probably would have brought the best out of him, because we know Jeff Ulbrich is aggressive when it comes to scheming and to scheming. So,
yeah, I think the reason why I think Jalen Walker's just been talked with us so much is because of AC Carter, the new linebackers coach we got from LA. And he's just been able to develop linebackers, and he's able to move them around and use their versatility the way they need to be. So I just, that's the reason why I see Jalen Walker going.
Shador Sanders in the second round. Wow.
Are we getting Shador Sanders in the second round here, TJ?
Wow.
Jack Dash goes.
But they took Cam Ward. What the hell?
Oh no, that Shador didn't fall. Oh,
Cam Ward went to Cleveland.
The first round they took.
He went to Cleveland. They took Abdul Carter.
They took Travis Hunter.
Wow, Travis Hunter and Shador. That's actually a perfect situation.
Wow. That's
PFF cooked a little bit there. I'm gonna lie. They gotta cook with that. Like, if that happens in real life, that's kind of crazy. But TJ, you're up here in the second round. You have one more. So you have 1 second and then 2/3. You went Tyler Warren with your first pick. Where do you want to go here?
If we can go to the linebacker position, let me see what was available there. Nah. What about? All right, go to the quarterback position. Let's see what we got available. All right, let me go ahead and get Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. Look, I already said it. He has that skill set, untapped potential. And I just think that a coach like Kellen Moore can get it out of him. This is a guy that won't be a first day starter, but I don't think the Saints are expecting that from their quarterback. And if you give Spencer Rattler opportunity and maybe bring in a veteran, maybe those two can kind of battle it out for that starting position. But like if you can have Jalen Milroe in the oven, let him, kind of marinate a little bit. By the time he gets that opportunity, he might be what the Saints need. So, we all know he has the talent, he has the skill set, the athletic ability, he has the most upside among all the quarterbacks. So we'll go with Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, we've definitely talked a lot about Jalen Milroe, especially earlier on in this stream. So makes a ton of sense. I think we kind of saw TJ going with one of those quarterbacks as long as they fell into the second. But what do you think about that, Clay?
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, I like it, man. He's one of those guys that just has all the upside. I think he's got the thing for me is how accurate can he be, right? Like, can he work on his accuracy? Like, we've seen some issues. I've watched his tape as well. The athleticism is just it's out of this world. Like, the raw athleticism is just crazy. I think he's got a rocket arm for sure. I just think there's just times when I watch and I'm like, there's some questionable decision making at time, but that comes with development over time, right? And Kellen Moore is obviously, like TJ said, I agree with TJ. I think Kellen Moore is a very underrated coach. I think he's a great quarterback coach. And so he can. And that thing with Jalen Milroe is he can turn a play into a highlight reel. That's the one thing that I do like about him. Like, it's like, or then he can turn into a disaster. So it's like, with him, it's like give or take kind of really. So it's like, if the Saints are willing to be patient and develop his processing and abilities and all that good stuff, they have a star in their hands. I can see that with Milroe. So that's it. It's going to have to come down with patience, and then Kellen Moore really getting the best out of him, get him every last bit out of Jalen Milroe and his development.
Yeah, and also I want people to understand this. I know a lot of people look at Jalen Milroe's season last year, and he had more rushing touchdowns than passing. But you also got to look at the scheme as well. You look at Caleb DuBois and what he did with Michael Penix. As a quarterback, there are two different type of quarterbacks here. Nick Saban had a plan for Jalen Milroe, which is the reason why when Nick Saban in his final year with Alabama, if you look at Milroe's stats, he checked all the boxes. Why? Because he had a plan. And I just think that one thing that Kellen Moore showed me with his stop in Philly was his ability to be able to understand what guys can do and how to utilize the skill set. That was the biggest question that I had about him, because everybody was talking about how much of a pass happy coordinator he was. When he realized that Philadelphia need to be led by the running game, he was willing to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands and put it in the hands of Saquon Barkley. That showed me that he's going to do what it takes to win, and he's going to put guys in the right position to succeed. So that's the reason why I feel like it would be a good combination of coach and quarterback with Jalen Milroe and Kellen Moore.
Yep.
Any thoughts on that, Smitty?
Yeah, man, I agree with TJ 100%. You got to think about too. Kellen Moore was in Dallas with Dak Prescott, and he has a similar skill set, but he can run. He's faster. I think his arm is stronger. And you look at his deep pass. Nobody talks about that. He had one of the better deep balls in college football 2 years ago. So if you add him to this team along with a Ty Warren. And as I tell y'all, tight end quarterback safety blanket. If he can work with that tight end, that athletic, they'll kill the middle of the field, man. But
they can run a dang triple option there with Jalen Milroe and Kamara and Tyler Warren, which would be crazy.
Look at what New Orleans did with Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
imagine what they could do with a Jalen Milroe. So Kellen Moore, man, I think it was the perfect coach. I think it was the perfect hire for the Saints. But I think Jalen Milroe, he can go back to that sophomore season. He can put up some numbers in the NFL if he develops right.
Right.
All right, Smitty. Well, you're back up here at 46 now. Unfortunately, also nobody is calling. It doesn't look like anybody's trying to trade up here. And this is your final pick here. You don't have a third round pick. James Pierce was your first selection. Where do you want to go here?
Oh, it's easy, man. His teammate, Omar Norman Lott. A lot of people not talking about him as a defensive tackle, but when you talking about a dude with a nasty mean streak, this is what you need in the NFL. He has the size to play the zero. Even if we pay a 3-4 or 4-3, he's going to play that defensive tackle position. And I know we drafted 2 defensive linemen last year, but Brendan Doris really did not see the field. So I'm thinking they don't trust that. So I think they can go back to the well one more time with another defensive tackle, and they have to replace Grady Jarrett. So Omar Norman Lott, I think, fits that scale as far as that nasty streak that Grady Jarrett had. You talk about a guy that's bigger. I think he's 6'3" or 6'4", about 325 pounds. So, yeah, you need that zero technique, especially when we talk about improving your pass rush. You got to have somebody to collapse the pocket. You got to have somebody to shut down these run gaps. I think Omar Norman Lott can do that.
Yeah, one of the highest pass rush win rates out of all interior defensive linemen in college football this past season. So a dog at getting to the quarterback, which is very, very valuable too, right? Because, you know, interior O-lines are starting to get better, but we're also seeing interior O-lines get better because we're seeing interior defensive linemen be able to get to the quarterback. What we used to know with those big defensive tackles who are just there to, you know, essentially stop the run, be big bodies to fill a hole. That's what's changing, right? Where we're actually seeing defensive linemen, interior guys actually be able to get to the quarterback. And that's really changing what the game is like. And having those guys is very valuable because when you have good edge rushers and the pocket starts to collapse, well, the quarterback can still step up into the pocket and deliver a throw. But if you're getting that pass rush from the interior, there's really nowhere for the quarterback to ultimately go. And he's forced into either throwing a pick, taking the sack, or throwing the ball away. So definitely a good pick there. What do you think, TJ?
I think it's a great pick. You know, I like Omar Norman Lott. I think he's very underrated as an interior guy. You know, I don't necessarily look at the highlights because, you know, the key word is highlights, right? I mean, they're going to show you like all their good qualities. I like to see guys like when a team is trying to overcome adversity, like where the dogs at, right? I mean, who is still out there, still trying to battle, lead insurmountable, maybe no chance in hell you're going to win. I've never seen this guy quit on a play. I always look at that. And then also he's a very smart football player. So not too many people are really talking about his athletic ability or what he can actually bring to a defense, but he's very underrated in that department. So I think it's a good pick. If somebody get their hands on Norman Lott, if the Falcons get their hands on Norman Lott, I think he can be a problem.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Kentucky grade at 66.7. That's a lie. I watched that whole game. He was disrupting that whole game.
Yeah.
I sat there and watched the game. So, yeah, I don't pay attention to those grades because they mislead. You go back and watch that game.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
There's a few games. I mean, I've seen him out there, and I'm telling you, like, Tennessee was losing, but I never seen him quit on a play, and that's what I look for in a player. That's what I look for. Guy that don't quit.
What do you think, Clay? You like that pick?
Yeah, I like Omar Norman Lott. He's one of my top. He's actually moved up my draft boards. I've watched his game film. I like him. My breakdown on him, I thought that his ability to two gap or shoot gaps, depending on the scheme, very well. Great anchor on the inside. Got quickness, make plays. Really, he's not elite in one area. Like he's just good at like multiple areas, right? Not necessarily
overachiever. Yeah,
but he's just a well-rounded enough to make an impact, and I think he'd be well-rounded enough to make an impact in the right system. And I think Atlanta's defense definitely a good system for him.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's select Omar Norman Lott, and that will, unfortunately, Smitty, will solidify the Falcons mock draft for today. So you're going James Pierce, edge out of Tennessee, and then interior defensive lineman Omar Norman Lott, also out of Tennessee, getting a little bit of continuity.
And another thing about drafting someone out of the same team, they've been teammates before, so they know how to feed off one another.
Chemistry, man. It's important. All right, Clay. Well, you're up here at 48. Your first pick was Mike Green in the first round. You got 2 second-round picks and then a third. Where are you looking to go here at 48?
I mean, Maxwell Harrison's kind of interesting. I'm not going to lie.
That 40 time is crazy.
Maxwell Harrison's interesting, and Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina is kind of perking my ears, honestly. It's kind of hard for me because, like, I really feel like corner is not as big of a need as the linebacker for me. So I'm probably gonna have to go Demetrius Knight here. I've broken his game film down on my channel as well. He's just an old school thumper. If you watch him, he's just, that's what he is. Like, I mean, he's the kind of Mike linebacker. I feel like who just blows up plays in the backfield. That's what I really like to see. Straight line speed, very impressive. His timing on the blitz. That's what I put down as surgical. When I was really watching this film, the downside of him is that his lateral movement cover skills, that's where he needs refinement. All right. And so, but other than that, I think he's a good fit here to kind of go in the Mike position. And we need to add more to that room because really, yeah, you got Bose Boom, and then you got good Lord, I can't even think of my players on my team right now, but you got Jewel, and then you got Walker as well. So, I mean, you need to have somebody else. You know, you need to add more depth here. This is really for me. Now, another guy would have gone here is Carson Schwarzenegger as well. He's just a machine. Yeah, I like him. The problem was with him is that he was so small, 225. That's really small for a linebacker. He did bulk up for the combine. I give him credit there. He went up to like 246 for the combine. So I don't know how he did that, but good for him. But I'm going to go with the guy that I know the most with the most experience, and I'm taking Demetrius Knight here.
Yeah, good value pick. What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I like him, man. I had an opportunity to see him quite a bit being out here in the South Carolina area. You know, I think that he's a really good, solid player. I do think that he's a little bit of a work in progress, but it's not to a point where he wouldn't see the field. I just think that they'll probably tap into the potential that he has right now. You know, the athletics ability and some of the things that he does, and then they'll maybe allow him to kind of develop as a player. So, yeah, but I think that's a good pick.
You like that pick, Smitty?
Yeah, I love it. He's one of my underrated players one of my most underrated players in this draft. Like Clay said, man, I could see him as a London Fletcher type player at the next level if he refines his skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a high motor, and you need that in the NFL. And going to Carolina, it's pretty much what they preach. And you talk about guys like Sam Mills back in the day, he could fit that type mold.
Yeah, really good leader. For anybody that would like watch him, he's a really good leader. It wouldn't surprise me if for example, Carolina does draft him, and 5 years from now, we're talking about him being that core player on their team.
Yeah.
And the reason why I feel like he's falling in this draft is because of his age. He's about 25. If he's about 22, 21, 22, he's probably a high first round pick.
Yeah. Every time I hear his name, man, it's such a funny story. I was debating on telling this or not, but we're at the Senior Bowl, right? And I'm not gonna say who, but one of the guys there who was with us for Roundtable Sports, it was his first ever interview, and I could tell he was nervous. I was like, dude, just do it. Like, I was pushing him to do it because he's like, no, guys, like, I'm just gonna record. I was like, dude, you gotta do it. Like, you just gotta get that first one out there. And he goes, I'm like, all right, we're hitting record. He's like, can I get the interview? He's like, yeah, of course. Super, super nice guy, Demetrius Knight, by the way. And we hit record, and he forgets his name, and he goes, we're here with Demetrius, blanks on his last name, and goes, linebacker out of South Carolina. My favorite memory out of all the plays I've seen from Demetrius Knight, my favorite moment.
I already know who
one of our analysts. You know who it is, Clay. One of my favorite parts was when one of our analysts totally blanked on the guy's last name.
It'd be like that sometime, man. The adrenaline start pumping, you know. You forget what you're about to say.
When you get those interviews, like the adrenaline rush you get is absurd. But you could tell Demetrius Knight knew he forgot his last name too, and he just started like laughing. And we just kept the interview going. We never stopped it.
That's awesome. It's a great story.
That's my favorite story. I was thinking about that the entire time. But all right, let's see. Up next here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 53, and let's see who's on the board here, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like this is low key. Actually, I want to see something real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna kick this to you guys. I'm looking at somebody like Andrew Makuba. I think he could make some sense for that team if you do want to go safety, but I think they could also use some help at cornerback. And I see Siobhan Revel here out of East Carolina. He was an absolute dog at cornerback. It's going to bring some size for them on the outside. I think they could use some help in that secondary. Where would you like to see them go, guys? Corner, safety?
I think here you got to go corner. I think with Siobhan Revel, I mean, with him, I mean, you're talking about a big, fast, raw as hell, like guy that can come in there and make. I think he's a guy that can make an immediate impact in their secondary. Like, I get it that they need safety help, like what TJ said, but I honestly think their corner room needs more help than anything. I mean, even now that I think about it, like, you need a guy who's got all the traits in that corner position. This guy's got all the traits, and obviously with the health issues, that can push teams away. But I think if he didn't have the health issues, you're looking at a first-round pick.
He's also 6'3", so he's going to give you size, especially against some of these
Tampa Bay loves
receivers.
Those big corners, man.
Exactly, but can also play in man. He can play in zone, but I think he's even a little bit better in man, in my opinion, which we know is what they love to run significantly more. But if they want to switch it up, they want to run some zone, he's someone who can still play that at a high level. He's just a very good all-around cornerback. So I think we should definitely go with Revel here. I agree. TJ, what do you think about that pick?
Well, I don't have an issue with that, but I would have to say Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA. And the reason why is you got to look at their linebacker room. I mean, Levante David has been a staple of that organization for I don't know how long, but every year we're hearing the stories about, hey, there's a possibility that he can be retiring. And one quality that Levante David has on top of like his leadership is the ability to be able to, be able to tackle and be sideline to sideline. I guess, based on, I just saw with, with Jalen Walker, I guess he would probably serve that role, but I look at him more like that Devin White type. But I guess if we don't want to pick the same position, I guess we can go with Revel. But I just look at the way that Tampa Bay plays, and I think that he would definitely be like that type of linebacker that they often have. That guy that just a nuisance, like always can get somebody down on the ground. Not the most athletic guy in the world, but just always just seems to make a play. So. But yeah, I would go. I
also feel like Jalen Walker, to that point though, too, could be like a Frankie Luvu 2.0. Like that's the way I look at him too. Like he could be outside, sideline, put him, or you could put him in Mike. Like I feel like Jalen Walker can do that. Now I get the Carson Schlesinger thing because of what you just said, but damn, Siobhan Revel, because just that raw athleticism, 6'3", 193. I mean,
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Like, I forgot that they didn't go. I mean, we went Jalen Walker with the first pick. So that kind of like that was out of my mind when I thought about it. I should have asked you, Kobe, but I just look at him like, Schlesinger, like he's that type of linebacker that they normally go after. They're linebackers. I mean, from like Derek Brooks, from like Levante David, they never been like this uber like athletic type guys. I mean, you wouldn't even think nothing special about
with the Derek Brooks pull.
Yeah, like but I mean, this is the type of guy, like so. Yeah, but yeah, I would have to say that. I mean, he definitely fits that mold when it comes to their secondary.
I mean, you could also get Walker and Schlesinger on the field at the same time if you really wanted to. So it's the most unrealistic thing either.
Walker's going to be running anyway. So yeah. I see that too. I mean, and TJ's made good points with the Bucs on both of their picks. Like I saw the Starks idea. Now I see the Schlesinger idea. It's kind of hard though. It's because I'm just like, I'm looking at this guy like Siobhan Revel and I'm like, man, that's a shutdown corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Clay, you're up here again at 57, your second pick here into the second round. Mike Green, Demetrius Knight, what are you thinking here?
Can you look at wide receivers for me, please?
Yes, I can.
Please.
There we go.
Oh, damn, they moved Kyle Williams way up to 65. Holy,
they're finally giving him that respect, man.
Holy smokes. I liking my boy though. It's Jalen Noel all day, every day. For me, I think he's just the best fit for our offense right now. I mean, you're talking about a quick twitch athleticism, route running, makes him a solid slot receiver prospect. So again, I mean, he's a slot receiver prospect, but he's also can light up the outside. We've seen him do
he's
both.
strong too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he knows the thing that I love about him the most, and this is what Bryce Young needs, is that he knows how to get open. He knows how to create separation with his feet, and he can open up the middle of the field for your team. And what does Bryce Young love to do? Throw over the middle of the field. So if you can cut the field in half with just this guy alone, and his ability to make defenders miss and tight spaces, and he plays smart, that's what I need.
Yeah,
Ward 2025.
Massive. I've been a massive fan of Jalen Noel. I mean, him at the Senior Bowl too. He was putting guys in blenders just all game long. He has some of that short area quickness too, but he's such a good route runner that he can get open in all three phases: short, intermediate, and deep. And the reason that he was getting open against guys wasn't because he was winning contested catch situations. It wasn't because, he was just faster than the other guys, but it was because of his route tree. He was able to get really good separation. His cuts were extremely smooth. And I think guys like that can play for a long time in this league, and I think that's very valuable too. But even a guy for his size, I mean, you don't expect guys his size to be able to make contested catches the way that he does, and he had a 52% contested catch rate this past season. For a guy his size and a guy of his play style is absolutely crazy. Roundtable Sports did get to ask him at the Senior Bowl too, hey, what do you think about playing on the outside? How would you feel about that as you transition to the NFL? Nola's about 5'11", about 6 foot, depends on what site you ultimately see. And he said that he did it multiple times at Iowa State. So if the team, whatever team he goes to, asks him to play on the outside, he would feel comfortable doing so.
He reminds me of an Amon-Ra St. Brown, is what he reminds me of.
Yeah, I could see that. Those types of technicians. Yeah, I could see that. What was my other comp to him? Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett was my other comp to him.
Yeah.
I could see that.
What
do you think about that?
Receivers. I think, like Tyler, y'all mentioned Tyler Lockett. I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. Like, I mean, he's always just been that guy that does everything right. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Noel is one of those guys that, kind of flew under the radar because everybody is like an eye of Jaden Higgins. His size, he's 6'3", 200 plus pounds. But he was the guy that, he had the most yards out of the two. And they both got their fair share of receptions last season. So I think that they had a really good 1-2 punch going, but sometimes, when you look at those teams, the guy that's more of a physical presence always seems to, trumps the small little, scat receiver type guy, but I think he goes to the right situation. I think he'll be just fine. And I think that Bryce Young and Noel getting together could be a really good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I agree. Do you like that pick, Smitty?
Oh, I love it. Like I said, to me, I could see Hines Ward in him. I could see Anquan Bolden in him because we all know Anquan Bolden, when it came to physicality, he could control the middle of the field. But in Carolina, I think guys like this are going to be the reason why Bryce Young turns the corner. So all they have to do is start putting weapons around him. Find him a running back. They have Chuba Hubbard. I think Jonathan Bruce is going to miss this season if he comes back. So you add a running back onto what they're doing. You add this guy, I think it's a recipe for Bryce Young turning the corner and being their future quarterback. So
yeah, I like this pick. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think they'll probably go another running back, Smitty, but you brought in Rico Dowdle on a 1-year deal. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season. So I see it, but I think it'll be later on. I'm just interested to see how Jonathan Brooks bounce back because that's gonna be interesting.
I tell you one thing, look out on for day 3, and every mock draft I've been seeing him fall down the board. But if Donovan Edwards falls on the right team,
I've been seeing that him fall down too. He's expected to be a later round prospect now, but a guy with some receiving upside. One
team to look out for him is the 49ers. I don't see Christian McCaffrey playing much longer. If they can get a guy like that in the later day 3, he's gonna have a solid NFL career.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, TJ, you're up here next to start the 3rd round. This is your first of 2 third-round picks. You went Tyler Warren in the first, Jalen Milroe in the second. What are you thinking here?
Can you go to available linebackers? Let's see what they have.
Yes, sir. All right.
Oh, Chris Paul.
Mario David got grandkids.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chris Paul.
I
Out
like
of
Oh, boy,
Mississippi.
I love that
Yeah,
pick.
good
Oof, boy.
kid, good football player. Definitely is a Saints type linebacker. Good leadership qualities, good motor. And this could be a guy that can, be alongside, a guy like Warner. And also, who knows, man? Maybe this can be that guy that can replace the Mario Davis. So I'm gonna go with him, man. I like him. He always shows up in the big games. I mean, you look at his numbers at game versus LSU, but I mean, I think that he played pretty well through across the board. I mean, sideline to sideline guy, and I think that he will definitely fit that 3-4 defense that they're bringing.
Yeah, pretty short tackler too. Only 4.5% missed tackle rate. I know that's like an obvious thing, but there's a lot of linebackers in this league that have trouble consistently tackling, and getting a guy who tackles everything in his sight is just so valuable.
Need that. Yep.
Yeah, it's so valuable. It's such a minuscule part. It's an obvious part, but like you'd be surprised how many guys struggle with that in the league. But what do you think about that pick, Clay?
I mean, when I watched Chris Paul's tape, and I actually watched it, some of it the other day. His coverage linebackers are like golden in the NFL. So this is a guy that does that very well. Smooth in space, reacts quickly very well. Especially to pass concepts, very high football IQ with that. Makes him a good asset. I feel like, especially in nickel and dime packages, I saw a lot of that with him. Run game just needs some work on the tackling in the run game. He needs to fill his gaps a little bit better, but that just comes along with the territory, right? Guy being a 3rd round pick, development, that's going to happen, right? I think just needs to improve on, maybe get some size. I know he's not going to get any taller, 6'1", but maybe grab a little bit more size there. Not much, maybe like 10 pounds. It wouldn't hurt him. But other than that, great sub package defender. I like it.
What do you think about that pick, Smitty?
I love it, man. He's one of my favorite linebackers in this draft. When you talk about a linebacker that can do it all, to me, he's a Deion Jones type linebacker. A guy that can run sideline to sideline. He can set the edge. He does need to work on his playing the run, but like you said, that comes with experience and picking up weight. But when you talk about coverage, I'd see Deion Jones all day. If he drops back into coverage, quarterback's better word, because if he can bait somebody, he can turn into a cornerback just like that. So, I like his play, because he's an all 3-level guy. He can rush the passer, drop back in coverage, and he can set the edge. And that's what teams need. So that would be a steal at that point.
All right. Well, Clay, you were up here with your final pick in this mock draft. You went Mike Green in the 1st, Demetrius Knight in the 2nd, and then your most recent pick, your next pick in the 2nd round, you went Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State. How are you going to wrap this one up?
I think I know where he's going.
It's easy. Andrew.
Yeah, he talked about him already.
Easy pick for me. Super easy. I mean, God, man, like this guy, I'm surprised he's even fallen this far, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because of if you go watch the tape, he jumps off the board. Great ball skills, ability to read plays, excellent zone coverage. You see it all the time on his film. Good tackler. Just needs to develop some physicality. That's really about it. I mean, that's the only downside to him, really. So he just needs to get stronger, right? And he needs to be better against bigger receivers. The things I saw inconsistently was just against deep routes. All right. So just some for refinement there. But other than that, man, he's almost a full total package, but there's just a couple things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a guy who can play all over in the secondary, mostly a free safety, but can play in the box, can play a little bit of slot if you need him to be. A guy who's really good in coverage. Obviously, that forced incompletion rate of 26.1%, really good in the run game as that last line of defense. Also, my only real concern for him is that missed tackle rate, 14.4%. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned again. 13 missed tackles this past season. The more he played on a year-to-year basis, yes, he got better, significantly better on a year-to-year basis, but he also had, more missed tackles on a year-to-year basis. Obviously, as that last line of defense, The most important thing for you to do is obviously be able to make that short tackle. So that's really my only concern, but love the player, love the pick. And if you get him here, that is excellent value. What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's a really good player. I mean, if you're getting picked in a third round, I mean, you're not going to be you're not going to be a finished product. So, I mean, but the qualities that he do have, I think that they are a plus. And some of the things that he lacks, I mean, you can improve with that. You know, that comes with really good coaching and opportunities, like getting reps, and also getting some really good coaching. I think that he'll, trend in the right direction. So I think it's a good pick.
Also, that touchdown to interception ratio 0-5 is crazy. Andrew Mukuba is just an absolute beast. But what do you think, Smitty?
Yeah, I think him and Barron played well off each other at the University of Texas, and they helped each other. But in this defense, I think he has the right type defensive coordinator. You can see him in there sliding in the box too. But I think he needs to just add weight, probably about 10 pounds, probably get over 200. And I think he'll be fine. Because, and if I'm not mistaken, Clay, guys like your defensive coordinator, he likes to move his defensive backs around. So this guy right here, he fits that mold.
Yeah, he's a ball hawk. I mean, and that's what you need, because you need someone to go around right beside Mo Rig, and he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, he played up at the line of scrimmage a lot against Georgia. I saw that. So he's one of those guys that you can use anywhere on the field.
Yeah, well, Panthers fans, let us know what you think about Clay's 3-round mock draft in the comment section below. But let's continue this thing, and let's see who's next up here. Let's see. I think we got the Bucs back up on the board. Is this their final pick? Should be their final pick. Yeah, so this is their final pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We went Jalen Walker in the first, Siobhan Rebel here in the second at cornerback. Guys, where do you think the Buccaneers should go here in the third round at pick 84? Anyone that's jumping off the board, you guys?
I would say
I'm gonna pull a. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
I think we finna say the same thing. Jared Wilson.
Yep.
They need help on the interior of that line, man, because they lost a lot on the offensive line. So center definitely will be a position, because honestly, if the Falcons trade back,
but don't they have Graham Barton?
Yeah, they do, but he can play
guard. He can play guard because the guard position, I mean, Graham Barton is like he the truth, but they definitely need help at the guard position. Yeah, so he can serve as that, man. I mean, I know he plays center, but y'all know, man, you can play. And most centers, if they played in college, they'll transition to the guard position. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Wilson a little bit undersized too, but the other thing that's great about him is that he's played all over the interior of the offensive line. So even if you're projecting him to be at your center, like those interior O-linemen, especially if they played all over, those guys can compete. You kind of move them around as chess pieces. It's also significantly easier for a guard to switch from one side to the other side, for a guard to switch into center, than it is for like a right tackle to play left tackle or a left tackle to play right tackle. So Jared Wilson just giving you some depth really everywhere in the interior of that offensive line, which build up the trenches, baby. Second most important thing of football.
Can you look at corners real quick? Because I'm just curious.
Yeah, I got you.
I just want to see, because okay, no.
Very strong. One of my favorites.
Yeah, Jared Wilson's the right pick here.
I like Kobe Bryant, man. I was like a cornerback in the later rounds.
Oh,
That's
my
guy.
Yeah. Kansas, yeah.
That is my guy. All right. Well, Bucs fans, let us know what you think about the draft in the comment section below. I can't wait to send this to James and see if he likes it or if he just completely roasts us. That's gonna be a fun one. All right, but I think this is
TJ.
I'm correct. This is our final pick here in our mock draft, and it is so. All right, TJ, you went in the first round, Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. In the second round, you go Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, and then in the third round, Chris Paul Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi. Your final pick here in the third round and final pick of this mock draft. Where are you going?
Can you show me the wide receivers that's available?
Yes, sir. Ooh, Kyle Williams is still there.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Savion Williams out of TCU. He's a guy. He's a big, tall, physical receiver, and this is something that the Saints have needed for quite some time. And I mean, since Michael Thomas has left, they haven't really had that big physical presence at the wide receiver position. The ability to be able to get those yards after the catch. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, he's a burner. Chris Olave is more of, a down the field threat. but they need that guy. And, them signing Brandon Cooks for veteran leadership, that's not going to move the needle there. So I'm going to go with Savion Williams, the guy we're very familiar with. And I think that he'll be able to provide that for the New Orleans Saints.
Wow, Savion Williams, man. Like you said, a guy that's going to bring you size, but also more of like a chess piece, a guy that you can play all over that offensive formation. You can do so much with him. And I think his success is heavily going to be based off the organization he goes to. He has to go to an offensive-minded league with an offensive-minded head coach who can kind of use him, like I said, as that chess piece. And I think Kellen Moore can do exactly that. I think in terms of his fit, that is a perfect selection for the Saints. But Clay, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the pick for them. Again, it's kind of like I go back to the Jalen Milroe thing. Like, if you got patience, you're looking to develop him. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy. Again, raw athleticism. Again, 6'5", 225. You're talking about a guy who's just a physical freak, who's just raw at hell. But I mean, he can win contested catches. He can bully defenders, right? But the only thing for me with him, route running just needs to be a little bit precise, make better cuts, has all the tools. I just don't think he's a finished product yet. But again, this is a project pick. You don't expect these guys, especially in third round, to just come out and just ball out. Again, it's like 1 in 10 years. But I think this is a good fit for the Saints, right? This is a guy that they need. They need another guy like a Michael Thomas out there. All right. And so they need to develop him and just have patience with him, and he'll be fine.
What do you think about that pick, Smitty?
With some fine tuning, I could see him as a Drake London type talent. TJ kind of threw a curveball there because I was looking at Charles Grant's highlights and watching some of his tape last week. I think he's one of those guys going to slide up the board probably into the late second, early third. But I think Savion Williams is a good pick, but I'm surprised TJ didn't go offensive line there because they offensive line was like a turnstile last year. So I feel like offensive line is something they're definitely going to have to target in this draft.
Well, I mean, the thing about it, Smitty, is, I mean, you got a lot of late round picks that you can actually address that. There's actually one guy, you got Vincent out of Alabama A&M. I mean, he's projected to be a fourth round pick. He can be a guy for you. Yeah, I mean, Cornelius out of Oregon, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got some guys that are going to be there in the later rounds that going to be able to you'll be able to get your hands on. So I didn't really look at that because, I mean, I'm looking at what their needs are immediately. I think anybody that they bring in from the offensive line position is probably not going to be a starter. They brought in some guys that I feel like could serve as some starters. It would probably be a matter of can they be able to beat out some of those seasoned veterans. So I'm not too sure about that. So I would just say those later rounds they'll probably address that position.
Right.
Well, fellas, that is going to wrap us up for today, guys. What do you think about the needs, the top 3 needs for each of the teams here into the NFC South? And what do you think about the 3-round mock draft for each of the teams here into the NFC South? Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you would have done different. I believe the next time we'll be back on the show is the week after the draft to recap everything that each of these teams have done. It is going to be a great show. Make sure you guys subscribe here to the NFC South Roundtable, a show brought to you by Roundtable Sports, so that you get notified every single time we post, every single time we go live, so that you do not miss out on the discussion. But as always, we appreciate you guys so much for watching. And until next time, stay safe.